I've spent years working in national parks and volunteering for search and rescue. Most of the time, it's just hard work, but some nights, the woods feel wrong. A few years back, I was on a multi-day solo camping trip deep in the wilderness. I was miles away from the nearest trail, settled into the back of my SUV for the night. I woke up at midnight to a sound that shouldn't have been there, yelling, far in the distance. It wasn't screaming or singing, it was a rhythmic chanting that chilled me to the bone. I clutched my knife and eventually drifted back into a nervous sleep. I was jolted awake again by a sound that made my heart stop. It was a clear, human triple knock on my SUV's glass. I scrambled out of my covers and saw a figure silhouetted against the dark, peering in at me. I let out a guttural scream, and they bolted into the trees. I was hours from the nearest town. I hadn't heard a single vehicle drive in all night. In that silence, I would have heard a car from miles away. I spent the rest of the night with the engine running, staring into the blackness. The second thing I saw was less spooky and more deeply tragic, but it haunts me just the same. It was a blizzardy night, well under -17 degrees Celsius, when the call came in. A young woman had vanished from a cluster of remote scenic cabins. My SAR partner and I arrived to find a group of people in total disarray. They had been experimenting with psychedelics, and the woman had suffered a bad trip and sprinted into the dark wearing nothing but light clothes and sneakers. We tracked her through feet of snow for hours. Exactly 3 hours and 41 minutes into the search, we found something that made our stomachs drop. Her clothes, her jacket, her shirt, even her shoes. Soon after, we found her. She was sitting against a tree, completely naked and barefoot in the freezing snow. She was already gone, and the final stages of hypothermia. The body's cooling mechanism fails, and victims often feel like they are burning alive, causing them to strip off everything they have left. It was a tough few nights after that. The image of her against that tree still follows me into my dreams. Years ago, I was at a friend's 16th birthday party in Australia. They lived on a massive property with about 10 acres of dense woodland behind it. In the middle of the night, about 20 of us decided it would be a great idea to play murder in the dark out in the bush. My mate and I had a plan to be unfindable. We grabbed a heavy ladder, thinking we'd climb high into a tree and pull the ladder up behind us. We were stomping through the scrub, lugging this thing, while we heard the person who was it counting to 100 in the distance. Suddenly, everything went dead quiet. The insects stopped chirping, the wind died down, and even the counting sounded muted, like we were underwater. Then, we heard it, a rhythmic thumping sound, like a galloping horse, coming from the trees directly in front of us. As we sat there frozen, the sound got louder and closer. Then, a light started flickering through the branches. We didn't wait to see what it was. We ditched the ladder and bolted back to the house as fast as we could. When we burst back into the party and told everyone what happened, my mate's dad wasn't impressed. He told us to go right back out and get his ladder. So, all 20 of us grabbed torches and headed back into the woods together, retracing our steps. We eventually found the spot where we'd dropped the ladder in our panic. It wasn't lying on the ground where we'd ditched it. It was perfectly set up, standing upright in the center of a small clearing. And the strangest part, the entire ladder was soaking wet, despite there being no rain or dew anywhere else. We haven't stepped foot in those woods at night ever since.